Hi, I'm Sean,
I'm Rhonda.
and we're excited to be with you today to talk about some things in God's Word that are showing us how that we can improve our marriage relationship.
So we've been looking in the book of James, and we've shared a little bit already on another video out of James 1, and we're still in James 1. So we want to look at verse 19.
Yeah, so it says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man works not the righteousness of God." Gracious, if we're practicing that in our relationship, in our marriage, that is going to make a huge impact.
Because this is the speaker listener rules right here in the Bible. So being quick to hear means somebody needs to play the role of listener. One thing I think that we see with couples that are challenged either to communicate at all or to go deeper is nobody's really listening.
Goodness, because sometimes I think we can be so intent on our message
Right.
that we aren't hearing our spouse's message. So we need to lay aside our own message and what we want to say so we can really pay attention to what our spouse is saying.
So when we think about quick to hear, we want to be asking the Lord, develop this in me. Help me be quick to hear. That word has to do with being ready and prompt, paying attention to understand.
And we've got to, that it involves being the other person being quiet, holding your peace, and being able to not be so quick maybe to give a response, but to really solidly hear your spouse out. We don't want to jump to our own conclusions. Sometimes if our
Right.
spouse is speaking, we have our own interpretation of what those words mean to us, but we need to find out what those words mean to our spouse.
And so when we're quick to hear, we're focusing with the intention of understanding. Well, that wouldn't mean I would be assuming. Now, assuming is I'm focusing on myself and I'm gathering information from within myself. But if I'm quick to hear, I'm gathering information from the speaker. And my focus is on the speaker and where's the speaker going? If I'm not sure what the speaker is saying, instead of assuming, I could ask questions.
Likely it's going to be a different perspective than your own, and you're going to have to brace yourself and prepare yourself that it's okay for your spouse to have a different way of looking at the same thing and coming up with different conclusions.
Right. And in Proverbs 18:13 it says, "He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame to him."
Oh, goodness. And that is saying that we're being so quick to respond or react
Right.
to what we heard, the words that we heard come out of their mouth, without really asking, okay, so what I hear you saying is, and maybe repeat it back, does that mean, and ask for them to interpret their
Yeah.
own message. That'd be kind of like us going to the Bible, reading something that God said, and us jumping to our conclusion based on our own experience instead of
Yeah.
really finding out what God's saying.
Right. And when we think of this word answer in here, it even includes withdrawal. Think about that. If you're going to answer a matter and you're going to hear it well, then you're going to answer according to what was shared with you, not according to your own perspective, according to what you wanted to say, but according to what the speaker wanted to say. And to do that, like Sean said earlier, we have to lay down our own agenda. We have to be able to withdraw from sharing my perspective at that moment so I can answer according to the other person's perspective.
Sometimes we think just because we heard the words and we understand the language and we understand in our own dictionary or vocabulary what those words mean, that automatically means I understand the intention of what my spouse was wanting to convey, and that's not true.
And the matter here is what's being spoken about. So many times couples say the speaker brings up something and the listener turns the tables to something that is of concern and of interest to the speaker.
Oh, wow.
To the listener. Well, that is changing from a topic A, we like to say,
Yeah.
to topic B. If we are listening to the matter, what is being shared, we will be particular to stay on that topic, letting the listener remain, the speaker remain the speaker, and the listener remain the listener until what is being communicated is heard well.
It's kind of like saying, say Rhonda presents a topic to me, and in my mind I'm thinking, well, that reminds me of this, and so I
Right.
switch over as if that's what she was bringing up, and it's totally derailing that. And we really need to keep this laser focus
Right.
that I am not going to bring up my own problem with what you're saying into what
Yeah.
you're presenting.
Because basically, when that happens, we push the speaker aside and say, "Nope, I'm the speaker now, and you're going to play the role of listener."
Right.
Isn't that pretty insensitive and rude of us? And we don't always know that we're doing it. So we have to allow the speaker space to say whether or not we're on topic. If the speaker believes we are off topic, we're probably misunderstanding. We need to adjust and try to hear that again so that we make sure that we're hearing what the speaker wants us to understand.
So what does it mean to really hear? There's so many times this passage in the Bible appears, he that has ears to hear,
Yeah.
let him hear. So is he just saying that you're capable of hearing the noise? Is it saying that you're capable of understanding the language? Or is he saying there's
Yeah.
really a meaning tucked
Yeah.
away inside those
Yeah.
words, and that we really need to put out the effort to pursue
Right.
finding out what is the meaning behind the words I'm hearing.
That is so good, because if we look in the marriage and we say, "Let him that has ears to hear," and are we doing that with our spouse? Are we hearing a noise? Yeah, I heard the noise of the spouse, but did I actually hear the message?
Yeah. So that word hears, where he said, he that answers a matter before he hears it, that word hears is to hear intelligently,
Right.
with the implication of attention and diligently.
Right. And so it says it's folly, it's silly to not hear.
That reminds me in Deuteronomy, I'm trying to think of where Jesus said, I think somebody asked him, what was one of the first commandments or something. He said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God."
Right.
What is that? First thing he's saying,
Yeah.
I want you to hear.
Right. And, just think about that in our relationship with God. If we're not really hearing,
Yeah.
we're not paying attention. And that's one thing we'd like to encourage you to do as couples is everybody tends to be pretty good at being the talker, being the speaker, even though we need to learn how to do that well, because a lot of people don't present well. But here, that's not the focus. Even if your spouse doesn't present well, how can you weed past the difficulties in the presentation to hear the message? Because it would be so sad to miss the message of the spouse or of God, because we got so tripped up over the presentation.
So, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, what if you had a picture that you're wanting, maybe a picture on your phone, and you hold up, hey, look at this really neat picture.
Right.
And I glance at it, then get my picture and hold it up and say, but look at my picture.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's not really connecting just because you said, yeah, and then bounce right over here, well, look at what I'm showing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
this is where you want to say, you really spend some time delving into,
Right.
what is it that you're seeing when you
Yes.
see that? What is it you want me to see from that picture?
Because if we're sitting there just waiting for our turn to talk, then we're not being a listener. We're being a speaker. Even if we're not actively speaking, we're being the speaker, because in our own heart, we got this to say and that to say and this to say. Well, if you knew this and you knew that, that's not a listener. That's not the heart of a listener. The heart of a listener is, well, tell me more. Wow, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that you would let me know that.
Yeah.
Is there more that you need to say about that? The heart of a listener is seeking to hear on the inside, not just on the outside.
A real curiosity.
Right.
This in Proverbs goes on to say it's a folly and a shame to the person that gives an answer before they really hear.
Right.
That's no there's no commendation there. That's a rebuke. That's saying,
Yeah.
if you're giving a quick answer before you really hear what your spouse is saying,
Yeah.
it's folly, it's a silly, a shame, it's a disgrace, confusion, dishonor, and reproach.
Flip that around. Would it be an honor to be able to answer a matter when you have fully heard it? So, if it's a dishonor to answer before fully hearing it, it's an honor to fully hear. So we want to do the honorable thing and completely hear a matter when our spouse is
And
sharing.
isn't that saying also that it's an honor to our spouse when we put out the effort to
Yeah,
really
it
hear
really
them?
is.
And
It
it's
really
the same
is.
thing in our relationship with God. All these things make a really neat comparison, because if we're really
Definitely.
putting out the effort to pursue understanding what God is saying to us, that's honoring His Word.
It is.
Let's look at Proverbs 18:17. He that is first in his own cause seems just, but his neighbor comes and searches him.
Wow.
The first person and searching out is so important.
So let's look at that. What person are we talking about here? We're talking about a person that's first in his own cause. He has put himself first over the spouse. I've elevated myself as first in rank, first in order. I should go first. Oh, you may have initiated talking, but you know what? My topic takes precedence over your topic. And
We don't want to elevate our own viewpoint so high that we can't
Yeah.
hear something different. And so many
Yeah.
times that's what's really challenging
Yeah.
couples, is when they aren't being open to a different perspective.
right. And if we're open, then we have to be able to say there's something valuable in what my spouse is seeing.
If your spouse is seeing something a different way than you, instead of being challenged by it or annoyed by it, what if you said, they see something I don't
Right.
see? Then, instead of being annoyed by it, you're going to run to it,
Yeah.
because you're going to realize, I don't have eyes in the back of my head, so I would need someone else to see something I don't see. That
Exactly.
makes the different perspective actually more valuable.
Right. And in this verse, his own cause is a contest, strife, controversy, contention. So when a person is arguing, he seems first in his own eyes. But the just person, he thinks he's just, I'm sorry. So basically, he thinks he's just in doing that. I have a right to do that. You should be listening to me. But the thing is, the other person will come and search that out, penetrate, examine, and expose, you might say, if you were focused on self. Your spouse is going to want to call you out on that. He's going to look at you and think, wow, you're not paying attention. You've lifted yourself up above me. And doesn't that cause a negative spiral in response?
So really, I think what this is essentially a picture of that would be, if we're talking and
Yeah.
my cause is at the first thing in my mind that I am considering, that's what I have first in rank, then I'm going to think my cause is just, because
Right.
that's the only thing I'm really giving attention to. I'm not
Right.
giving attention to the other cause. I'm not searching
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah. And God, however, searches out our hearts. He seeks to know what's going on in our hearts. And we would present to you that's what we should be doing in the marriage, searching to know the hearts.
Proverbs 44:21, shall not God search this out, for he knows the secrets of the heart. Man, you've got God knowing the most intimate details of who you are. He said in Psalm 139, you know me, you know every thought, you know every word in my mouth before I speak it. You know when I sit down,
Yeah.
God knows us so intimately and personally.
Yeah. And don't we want to be known on that level?
Mm-hmm.
So we would ask, to what extent do you feel your spouse knows the secret of your heart? And to what extent do you think you know the secrets of your spouse's heart?
And it takes energy. When he talks about searching
Yeah.
it out, you're putting out some effort, some energy
Right.
to understand something that you don't. If you're taking
Yeah.
any education, any classes, or anything that you're pursuing, reading a book or something, you're looking to bring in knowledge
Yeah.
and understanding into something you don't already know.
To what extent do we go into our spouse's heart to understand the secrets there? If we're not welcome deep in our spouse's heart, why are we not welcome? We're probably doing something, tromping around anytime we have been inside the heart on things that the spouse considers valuable and delicate. So we have to enter the heart gently and allow the spouse to invite us in and to show us around inside. But first, we have to have a curiosity. Who wants to show you around in their house when you don't care?
You know, secrets aren't just laying on top of the ground.
Right.
That means you're going to have to dig.
Ask questions.
Yeah, think about our law enforcement. You have investigators. You have agencies like the CIA. What is that all about? It's all about finding information, that is not readily available
Yeah.
to the eye. Just glancing, you have, and there's so many different law enforcement investigative programs that people are intrigued, I think, with finding something that's secret, finding
Yeah.
out secret information.
And I think where we make a mistake a lot of times is we try to force our spouse to know us, when instead it would be better to ask questions and invite. Is there anything you'd like to share with me about yourself so I can know you better? But then you want to make that brief. People abuse that if they are ever invited or asked. They abuse it. They monologue. They go on and on. They say it harshly.
You know, I think it's okay too to bait the hook and let your spouse know, hey, there's more information here. I know Rhonda
Right.
does that with me sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
if I totally miss it and she said something that was supposed to draw me in to look for more information there,
Right.
and I miss it, you know, she'll gently say, you know, hey, there's more information there. And that's my
Yeah.
cue that, oh, I need to pursue, I need to find out. That's a
Yeah.
really good thing to do. That really
Yeah.
helps.
And a lot of spouses don't like to do this, but this is great in the marriage to coach. What
It
I
is.
really need to hear from you right now is,
yeah.
or would you mind pursuing that information?
Otherwise, it's like assuming that your spouse should just know you.
Yeah,
and
read your
should,
mind.
and should understand all the dynamics
Yeah.
of how the relationship
Yeah.
should work
Yeah.
without any coaching, any information given. And
Right.
who better do you want coaching your spouse
Yeah.
than you?
And we would present that
yourself.
that's actually a healthy thing to do,
Yeah.
to coach your
Yeah.
spouse to know you better.
Okay.
Psalm 139:23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. So when we look at that, try me, investigate. And we talked about the questioning. See, God checks us out. He questions and looks, investigate. Know my thoughts, the way I think, something that's going on deep inside me. Check it out and care enough to ask questions and seek and pursue that.
And we would have to believe that the information that our spouse is presenting is not shallow,
Right.
but it has depth to it, something to pursue. A deeper understanding is there.